Jordan Peterson's venture into biblical teachings represents a troubling mix of superficial theology and psychological self-help. The allure of simplistic solutions to complex existential questions only complicates the decline of meaningful critical engagement, and his popularity among Christian evangelicals highlights a disturbing trend of embracing pseudo-religious rhetoric. Now, Larry Taunton's critique exposes weaknesses in Peterson's approach, but Taunton himself falls into the trap of defending a rigid, outdated interpretation of Christianity. From a secular viewpoint, both figures perpetuate confusion. Peterson with his shallow engagement and Taunton with his dogmatic stance. Peterson's pseudo-intellectualism and Taunton's fundamentalism ultimately undermine genuine intellectual growth, leaving followers more lost than enlightened. This article underscores the irony and dangers of blending pop psychology with religious fundamentalism, leading followers down a path of distorted beliefs and intellectual dishonesty. This story is from The Federalist by Larry Taunton and was published on May 21st, 2024. Phoebe, I know you had some problems with Peterson's toxic masculinity. You want to fill us in on that?
Jordan Peterson, where does one begin? Jordan Peterson, the kindly Canadian, because they're all nice north of the border in the Great White North. Jordan Peterson, what can I say about you? Well, not that much, actually, or not that much positive. You're a good psychiatrist/psychologist. You're very good with crabs, and you should stay there. You should keep teaching at the University of Toronto. You seem to be pretty good at it. Stop trying to tell young men that they should be angry with the world because the world is not what you want the world to be. You interview Elon Musk and you allow Elon Musk to go on a tirade against his own children. You perpetuate myths when it comes to minorities, especially when it comes to trans people. And your toxicity, that it's your way or the highway when it comes to these matters, is the absolute ultimate in middle-aged, middle-class, midlife crisis that you appear to be going through when you start turning in to Abe Simpson shouting at the clouds because they're not behaving the way they used to when you were a young whippersnapper running around and everybody knew what everybody was doing. In reality, the masculinity of Jordan Peterson is an insecure, sugar-coated, sugar glass fragility, which is puffed up by his intellectualism on the one hand and his ego on the other hand, and he does not realize that he has no idea what he is talking about in a religious context, where he should just be lecturing more and more on psychiatry and psychology, because that's what he actually knows what to talk about. And any good intellectual will tell you, you read the source text, and it is clear here he has not read that source text in any way, shape, or form from cover to cover. And I can guarantee you, I've read more Bible than he has, because I can guarantee you he hasn't actually read the Bible. He's just seen quotes come through his social media feed. And that is the dangerous thing here, because he thinks he sounds great, but the author of the article gets it correct. Dunning-Kruger has overrun Jordan Peterson.
I know the author, like many people, voices some ambiguity about Peterson's ambiguity that he often displays about his own beliefs towards Christianity. I mean, you can ask a lot of Christians and they'll say that he is one of them. And he does often praise Jesus, the Bible, the religion as a whole.
He's the absolute bollocks.
But he does say he doesn't follow the faith. And I have seen at least one minister claim that Peterson truly is a Christian. He just hasn't fully realized it within his heart. What do you think?
Well, you could say that about anybody. That's like,
yeah, well, I realize that.
My soul saved yet. Your soul will be saved soon.
I was trying to get to a point, though. My point is that Peterson does seem to have some type of motivation for using this Christian vocabulary. What do you like, John? You want to start first? What do you think his motivations are?
I think he's found a new market for his bullshit. That's what I think. I don't know much about Jordan Peterson. I've seen a couple of things on YouTube, but I've really haven't gotten very deep into his personal things because I really don't care about him. So, but for this article, I did do a little bit of reading, and I think he's an entertainer in his own, I think, in his own mind. And he found that evangelicals, of course, think that a non-Christian should not be pushing his take on their religion ownership, So, but especially as he has gained a foothold among the Generation Z Christian youth, in the author's own words, legions of them, this is entertaining because now there are academics attacking another academic, because the author is an academic theologist, for stepping outside of his discipline into their own domain. But he's hard to stop as he uses some of the same rhetorical techniques as they do, adding a sprinkle of New Age white lighter kind of speak into it. So he's got these people hooked on basically his bullshit. And granted, he probably just sees this as another market to enter into, more clicks on his links, more advertising dollars that he's getting for this. They decry his humanistic agenda, which I see no evidence of a humanist, the way I think of humanism, agenda on him. But it does mean that the extreme right-wing fundamentalists don't want anybody else stealing their money. Mm-hmm. And that's about all I can say. It's just he's into the funds. Come on, follow the money. That's it.
I want to talk about Larry Taunton for a minute, the author of the article. One of the things that I thought was really weird way to start it out was he starts out telling us that his son saw Jordan Peterson on a podcast, but he himself doesn't listen to podcasts, even though he is a podcaster. And he uses one of the worst excuses I've heard from a supposedly educated person in a long time. Quote unquote, I find the easiest way to avoid echoing others is to avoid the echo chamber. Seriously, does he actually think that all podcasts are in line with each other? Does he really think that all podcasters think the same way he does? It just blew my mind that he would say something like that. And apparently he thinks you can't go outside your own echo chamber. I like to. I might learn something. I might change an opinion. And if nothing else, maybe I can gain a little insight to the people that consider me as one of their political and social enemies. And I think that's a good thing. So I don't see why anybody who is supposedly an intellectual and a member of academia would not go outside of his own echo chamber. Phoebe, did you find any hypocrisy in this article? And if so, what is it that you found?
Well, the actual way it's written is hypocrisy because it starts off spouting nonsense. The actual article begins with, in these days of child mutilation and surging global tyranny, yet I don't go into my own echo chamber. Well, you've just spouted echo chamber nonsense. Mm-hmm. And I liked seeing Jordan Peterson when he's destroying the woke mob, skewering the woke mob. Really, from a theologian to be saying that is not the most biblical thing you could be saying. What about to love thy neighbor and all this and do unto others as you would have it done unto you? I mean, really? The level of pseudo sincerity that runs through it and the synthetic understanding that runs throughout this is almost hilarious at points because the author begins with hypocrisy and it's an insight into the author themselves. But then they pivot and the author really dislikes Jordan Peterson, drills deeply into Jordan Peterson being a complete turd as far as he's concerned. He says Jordan Peterson has no idea what he's talking about. It's not the Bible he's doing. It's the Bible according to Jordan Peterson, which is probably the best description of Jordan Peterson you could ever hear. It's not the world. It's the world according to Jordan Peterson. It's not an actual reality that's being lived in by either of them here. But the author of the article, whilst they start off with hypocrisy, have some consistency here. It's hypocritical to say you're not into echo chambers, but then you spout echo chamber stuff. But they have a level of consistency throughout the article because they fully understand what the Bible actually says And they pull Peterson limb from limb throughout the article, and it shuts down Peterson's hypocrisy as absolutely what it is. And it's refreshing to see somebody who is of a religious bent do that. The article, though, is over 3,500 words long. It's nearly 4,000 words long, and it is a long-winded, knockdown drag-out that you could have lost 3,000 of those words, and it still would have been an absolute windbag of an article to begin with. He uses filler and nonsense like any good religious person does to fill out a Sunday morning to try to get people to fall in line to put a load of dough into that plate that's going.
But Phoebe, don't you find it a bit ironic as well that since no two academics can seem to agree on a solid foundation for their own discipline, my unfounded opinion, by the way, I'm allowed one.
Is that your unfounded academic opinion?
Yeah, it's my unfounded academic opinion. But since they can't even agree on their own disciplines, to have them go head to head in a bunch of verbal word salad at each other, is that not kind of amusing in a sense? I mean, to me, it's entertaining to watch this stuff.
Sad almost, because Jordan Peterson has wandered into this guy's academic theory. This guy hasn't wandered into Jordan Peterson's. This guy isn't conducting crab eye movement tests and isn't claiming to be a psychologist or a psychiatrist. He hasn't tried to publish in the Journal of Psychiatry or anything. Jordan Peterson has wandered hook, line, and sinker squarely into this guy's arena. The other guy hasn't done that. The other guy hasn't gone to sort out Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson has gone and has said, "Hello, I'm Jordan Peterson. I'm the second coming of Jesus. Listen to me. I am the new Messiah. I am the greatest thing since sliced bread. I am so Canadian it hurts, and I will apologize for that." It's just
L. Ron Hubbard said, if you found your own religion, it's the fastest way to get rich. So,
I was thinking that this article starts out with Larry Taunton saying that he found out his youngest son was this big Jordan Peterson fan. And I'm wondering if some of the vitriol that he's spewing out towards Peterson in this article is a result of him maybe losing his son's ideology, and this is his way to fight back at it. And he also mentions that a lot of his son's generation is becoming Jordan Peterson fans. And is this his way of trying to keep these kids from wandering off on the wrong path and staying where they should be within this far right conservative Christianity? Do you think that might be some of the reason that this article was written?
Potentially, but I wouldn't go that far. I would say it's a father looking at his kids and going, "My son's an idiot. My son's a complete and utter idiot."
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. My son is an idiot. And it's like when a parent discovers that their children have different political beliefs and they go, "My child is an idiot." It's no different here. He's going, "My child is an idiot. He's listening to the wrong kind of religiosity." It's no different.
I thought it was weird too that he seemed to hate humanism so bad. The author did, and I thought that was really weird. Like, does he not know that you can have Christian humanism? But then I remembered that he thinks all podcasters think the same way he does. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the guy's thought processes are. And do you think it's a good thing? He has
debated people like Hitchens and Dawkins and that. So he's kind of like in that ilk.
Yeah, Peterson seriously thinks Dawkins is a Christian. That was something I got out of this article, and I was like, wow, really? Yeah. I never realized that.
He just hasn't realized his Christianity yet.
What I did find is a very interesting thread.
Dawkins has called Peterson a fraud. I mean, he's come right out and called him a fraud. And I know a lot of atheists might be mad at me for saying this, but I agree with Dawkins on this.
I say this, though. I say the interesting thread in this, though, was Ayaan Hirsi Ali was brought up. Mm-hmm. And there was some phony claim that Ayaan Hirsi Ali and Jordan Peterson were on the same path. No, it's a load of crap. Mm-hmm. Ayaan Hirsi Ali is someone that I have very little time for, and they haven't come out in the way that Peterson has. And the difference that I see with Ayaan Hirsi Ali and Jordan Peterson is that Ayaan Hirsi Ali actually has some humility to them. They actually go, "I don't know what I don't know." You will never hear Jordan Peterson
we did a thing
that.
on her too, and
but
when she came out, but
understand
the
that.
thing
But
is that,
you hear
that
Ian Hirsi
she
now.
has her own agenda,
Oh, I'm not
Her agenda
disputing
is-
that at all. But you will hear Ian Hirsi, when questioned about their Christian faith, they will say, I do not know that. And they are claiming to be a Christian, and they are claiming to be somebody that is actually saying, I do not know. They may have other things where they are doing things that are hypocritical, but you will never hear Jordan Peterson in any way, shape, or form ever answer a question with, I'm sorry, I do not know that. Let me go away and find it.
Probably, yeah. I don't imagine he would. He's got a pretty large ego. But the other thing about him is that his own admission that he's not a Christian, and then he goes diving into the Bible, is, to me, it's kind of cynical, And so that means it's got to be, at some level, this has got to be just a financial thing for him. I think that he had a group of people that would follow him, and like any good cult leader, he's going to culture not inculcate, but to gather together people, to more and more resources can flow to him, and he gets a lot of ego satisfaction of all his adoration from these young kids because they haven't gotten the education yet to understand the words he's spilling are just words. They're not really no substance to them. So it's like as soon as he gets into these people get a little bit of basic philosophy under their belts, they might start saying, yeah, this shit don't make sense. So hopefully a little critical thinking will worm its way into that generation. I would hope so.
And if we don't have any critical thinking, it's a good thing we have somebody like Larry Taunton to warn all the good Christians that Jordan Peterson just is not one of them, and they probably shouldn't trust his word. But you would think that everybody can see right through a really bad con man, but there are people that actually look up to Peterson, so apparently not everybody can.
Yeah, but Sun Tzu, as far as the author is concerned, it's like know your enemy better than your friends, because and the Western way say, I think, is keep your friends close, your enemies closer. So it's like these things actually are true tactically and strategically. You have to know your enemy. And so he's been doing his homework on how much of a con man Peterson is. So that's,
I like to think I want to know the people who think I am their enemy.
That too.
I think that's a good rocky road to find that
I don't
out
like
for
to
you.
consider myself I don't like to consider them my enemy, but I know they consider me their enemy. So
And I say the thing that you have to contextualize here is that when Jordan Peterson delves into the Bible, he's not doing it from a critical thinking point of view. He may say he is, but he's definitely not. As if you were to watch somebody on the Atheist Experience, when they quote the Bible at a caller, that's usually a lot more genuine than something that Jordan Peterson will do. And the contextualization here you have to understand is that Jordan Peterson may claim that he's being genuine in what he does, and he may